Hello, welcome to Gardener's World. And June has come to Long Meadow and it's very welcome, even though it's traditional English June, bit wet, bit blowy, bit chilly, but the garden is loving it because everything is growing lushly. This week, I'm planting out tender annuals into the dual garden, as well as giving my elderly citrus plants a thorough and long overdue service. Carol is helping a Wiltshire beekeeper who wants ideas for shade-loving flowers that will bring colour as well as nectar to her garden. And Rachel is going to Wisley.
Look how beautiful they are. It's almost, oh, we feel mean.
To find out how your garden can benefit from the miraculous Chelsea chop. There's no doubt about it that there's a different kind of energy in the garden now. In spring, everything is becoming. There is that electric thrill that seems to run from plants into one's skin. But now we go into summer, it's a bigger pulse, and that promises much more richness. Some plants, of course, span the gap between spring and summer. There's the Geum, Mrs. Bradshaw, that has been flowering for weeks now, and next to it, the Anchusa Loddon Royalist, both fabulous colour, that both have the freshness of spring and the richness of summer. But in general, everything is going stronger and deeper and growing more powerfully. But sometimes that exuberance of growth gets carried away with itself and plants start to flop, and you can see a really good example here. This is the poppy Patty's Plum. This one's going over, this is just about at its best, but it flopped before I had a chance to support it. And although I've rescued it and put it upright, it doesn't look great. It looks like a drunk leaning on a lamppost. Not only does it not look very good, but it also does damage to neighbouring plants. So the idea is to support them before they need it, before they fall over. And the main weapon in my armoury of supporting plants is cold steel. Now, the reason I go for cold steel to support my plants is because it works so beautifully. If you buy yourself a length of mild steel bars, this 6mm thickness, you can make really nice supports. They're cheap, they're easy to make, and certainly much cheaper than anything you can buy. This costs us, well, round about £2, and that is about half of what it would cost you anywhere. Go to a steel stockholder, steel merchant. You can look them up on the yellow pages or on the internet. There are lots of them. Get them cut to length. This is a 2.5 metre length, and you can bend them round anything you like. Now, I've used this to bend them round. You can use a tree trunk. In fact, this bin is quite good because all you have to do is just roughly get the middle, get it like that, and just bend it round following the contours. Take it round like that, and there's your hoop. Perfectly formed. That's stage one. Stage two, you need a couple of boards. Lay your hoop, your staple size hoop, on the ground like that. Put this across, stand on it, bending it up a little, and just pull it back towards you. There we go. There we are. A perfect plant support took what, 15 seconds to make? Now, the key thing for any method of supporting is to do it before the plant needs it. This group of heleniums is fine. It's perfectly upstanding, not battered at all. But there's a real chance as it grows, which it will do very fast now, that on a windy day or in a storm, it'll get battered. So if I put this in like that, and then put another one on this side, not touching, not pinching it or corseting it in any way, there's the protection. It's in place. As it grows, if it leans outward, it's going to be gently held up rather than squeezed in. And that's the way to stake plants. Now, that's how I use these steel hoops. But of course, there are other ways of doing the job. The simplest and perhaps oldest fashioned means of support is by using canes or sticks and string, and this is particularly suitable for individual stems like delphiniums or sunflowers. The thing to watch is not to make it so tight that the plants are squeezed, but not so loose that they're not supported. I keep all our prunings specifically for supports, and they can stand here, and what looks just like a pile of old wood actually makes really good material for getting under plants. That's hazel, that's the purple hazel in the jewel garden, that's pruned from that. This is actually field maple, which is also nice and twiggy. And you can see straight away that you can either use a big piece like that, or you can even cut it right down and use it much more delicately underneath smaller plants. I mean, if I cut that off and cut those off, there you can just stick that in underneath the plant and it grows through it, and that works as a support. Or even straight shoots like this, they're flexible. So I can bend that round, and then that would go round a group of plants. I can weave that, bend this in so it goes into the ground, and hey presto, you've got another kind of support. And of course, it doesn't have to be flowers. It also works very well with vegetables. Come and look at this. See, nothing supports peas better than pea sticks, which is just brushwood. And these are all just prunings from the garden, recycled, and they work perfectly. Now, all this is about supporting plants now so they can grow as big as possible and still look good. But Rachel has been to RHS Wisley to see the technique with which they reduce the size of plants now so they can look really good a little later on in the year.
The herbaceous borders here at RHS Wisley are world famous, with thousands of visitors coming here every year to get inspiration from the colour, the shape, the texture of these planting combinations. But to keep the borders looking this good, well, the gardeners here have a few rather nifty techniques up their sleeve, including a radical technique called the Chelsea chop. One man who's been using this crafty technique for years is the curator of the garden here at Wisley, Colin Crosby.
Chelsea Flower Show, nurserymen and exhibitors used to grow a lot of plants to get them flowering at Chelsea Flower Show time. The plants that they didn't use, they sent them back to their nursery, they pruned them back hard so they would grow again, and then they'd be able to sell them about September time because they'd delayed the flowering. Now we've adapted that to the garden environment. We realise if you prune plants at Chelsea Flower Show time, you make them flower later, hence the name, the Chelsea chop. A wide range of perennial plants respond to the Chelsea chop. We've got a practice in veronicastum and also sedums, but there's a whole host that really do respond to it.
Right, I mean, it seems almost sacrilegious because these lovely soft flower spikes, they're really getting there now, and you want us to cut them all off.
You have to be brave, cut it down by about 50%. The plant will respond and it will flower about 6-7 weeks later.
OK, well, I'm in your hands, so about 50%.
About 50%, down by half, don't be scared.
Right, I'll go for it.
You're in control of the border and the flowering period and the height of the plants. If we look here, we've got this lovely eupatorium. What we'll do is we'll prune 3, leave 3, prune 3, leave 3, and that way we're adjusting the height so you can see right through to the back, and it makes the border far more interesting.
Actually, Colin, that doesn't look bad at all, does it? Let's go and do some more.
These sedums are ready to be done.
Look how beautiful they are. It's almost, oh, we feel mean.
If we left them, they'd have big flowers in the late summer and it would pull the plant apart.
Yep.
By pruning them hard now, you've got a much shorter plant, lots of small flowers, and it looks really tidy in the garden.
Shape. So how far are we looking at going down here?
We're going to cut them by about 50% again.
OK, so the same thing again.
And these shoots are perfect. You can see where I've cut that one. I would trim it just underneath the leaves there. Put it into a general potting compost. You've got a cutting, you've got a plant for free.
It's a win-win situation, isn't it?
Certainly is.
I know that around Chelsea is obviously the optimal time to do this, but is there a point at which it becomes too late in the year?
We wouldn't do it any later than mid-June because you've got to leave enough time for the plant to regrow and enough energy to reflower as well.
Generally, the Chelsea chop works really well with any herbaceous plant that has leaves branching from their stems, such as heleniums, phlox, eupatorium, and asters. So we're heading towards this clump of pulmonaria on the corner, and of course they finished flowering. Those lovely bluish purple flowers, they've gone over, and the foliage, and that lovely mottling, that's also looking a bit sad, isn't it?
It's looking really tired. There's mildew on there. The foliage is going brown. We've got to be quite ruthless now. Dive in, cut it down to ground level.
Right.
And that reinvigorates the plant, and then encourages it to send up fresh new foliage, which is really clean. You see the markings on it, and then during the summer you'll continue to get flowers throughout the summer months.
Now, what about people who've got a very small garden and they feel that they've got to hang on to every bit of greenery that's there?
I think it's more important in a small garden because you want it to look good for as long as possible, and rather than having something that looks tired and dead during the summer month, you've got fresh foliage which is clean, you've got the lovely markings on it, fresh flowers coming up. Far more important to do it in a small garden.
So you know, Colin, from now on, every year, I'm going to be thinking of you at about Chelsea time and getting out in the garden and giving it a good chop.
Good.
Good.
I'm a lucky soul, and so hubba, hubba, honeydew. I'm gonna keep my eyes on you. Tweedly, 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 dog.
Now, at this time of year, I start to plant out the tender annuals that I've been growing in the greenhouse for the last couple of months. And they've been through stages of germination, pricking out, putting into the cold frames, hardening off, and now we've reached June, they're ready to come into the garden. Now, I really like using annuals in a mixed border. They take on the baton from the early bulbs, and these have been growing for a while, they're ready to go out. And this is a cosmos, it's called Dazzler. You can see the plants that have been growing in plugs, perfect. The roots are well formed, but they're not pot bound at all. And I can just put these out in groups, pop them in. Now, these won't flower for quite a few weeks, but the whole point about annuals is to bring on the succession, add variety to the border, and also spread the colour, spread the flow of plants. Now, these are grown from seed. Of course, you can buy trays of annual, but the beauty of growing plants from seed is that you can grow so many. You can get real volume in here. And we've got hundreds to put in for the same amount of money it would have cost to buy dozens as plants. There are plenty of other tender annuals that can be planted out now the weather is warmer. Cerinthe purpurescens is elegantly beautiful, and its glaucous blue foliage and its rich mauvey blue flowers last for ages. It will seed readily, but not invasively. Tithonia, with its intense orange daisy flowers, is one of the key plants in our late summer border and will flower bravely on to the first frosts. Now I'll get those in. It all adds to the rich variety of the border. Of course, that variety is not just plants, it's insects, it's butterflies, are all attracted to the nectar and the pollen. And Carol's been to Wiltshire to see a beekeeper who contacted us with a garden dilemma. What are the best plants to put in your garden to attract bees?
Bees have been around for millions of years, whereas human beings are fairly recently on the planet. But we rely on bees. Over a third of our food production depends upon them. But during the last few years, bee numbers have experienced a serious decline. And that's prompted a renaissance in the art of beekeeping. One of our viewers, Jane Ranger, who's recently started keeping bees, has written in and asked me to come to her garden to give her a few ideas for planting the perfect flowers for her bees. We had a chat on the phone and I brought along a selection from home that should do the job. Oh, gorgeous chickens! And I love your garden. It's really laid back. Love the daisies.
Thank you, Carol. We try and keep everything as natural and as comfortable as possible. The main problem I've got, though, is down here with the bees. There's a bit
I'm
of
no good at bees.
No, it's the plants. Sorry, it's the plants that I need to help with, because we've got this shady area down here where there's a nice lot of weeds coming through, but would like your thoughts about what plants we could put there.
And it is a real corner, isn't it?
It does, it goes to a point.
All this deciduous shade. But you've got lots of things around here. I mean, you don't think of brambles being blossom bushes, but they are, really.
Yeah.
And they flower over a long time, hugely attractive.
Right.
So I think we ought to keep those.
Really?
Your cow parsley's wonderful. And your poppies, full.
Lots of poppies.
Yeah, and packed with pollen when they come out.
Yeah, yeah.
If we have a really good clear out here, whilst leaving the things that are useful.
Yeah.
It still looks very rough, but for our purposes it'll do.
Yes.
Yeah? Can you grab the rose?
I will, Carol, definitely.
All of these. If we just sort of place these, and I think the rose ought to go at the foot of your dams and there.
Yeah, well, will it climb up into it?
Well, it's not, strictly speaking, a climbing rose, but I've got one at home, Rosa rugosa. It goes right up into my apple tree and uses it for support.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's got these fabulous, almost single flowers.
Yeah.
The trouble with double flowers is that very often they don't produce any pollen or nectar, and even if they do, it's hardly accessible to any insects.
Oh, right.
So single flowers are always the best.
Best to get.
Flowers for a long time, and it puts up with rough conditions.
Needs to, yes.
So it's just the thing. And then this geranium nodosum.
Yeah.
This is a shade-loving geranium, and again, all cranesbills are great for bees. You know, they're all over this.
And it's
at home.
open again as well, isn't it? It's a lovely open flower.
Yeah, it is.
Good.
And can you see here? It's already made seed. It will flower on and on right into the autumn, and it'll chuck its seeds around all over the place here. And it's evergreen. It's a handsome plant, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this lamium too, it belongs to the family Lamiaceae, so they used to be called labiates, because they've got lipped flowers.
All right, yeah, I can see that.
So there's a nice landing stage for the bees, and they can access all the nectar that's in there. I think this will just scramble everywhere. And as it goes, chuck a bit of soil on top of the stems.
Right.
So they'll root from each of these nodes.
Right.
And then you can just detach a few pieces later on and
spread them.
move them around and,
Yeah.
you know, out into the rest of the garden too.
Great.
It might not be a Chelsea garden, but I reckon it's the bees' knees.
It's fantastic.
The shaded corner should now offer a feast for Jane's bees, but I've also brought along some more plants for a sunnier position that will help with a period that both beekeepers and gardeners struggle with, the June gap, when the spring flowers are fading and the summer ones have yet to bloom. I bet the bees have been all over these alliums, haven't they?
Yeah, they certainly have.
This is anchusa. Bees love borage. of
They do.
Every description.
Yeah.
And it is in that family. And it's going to withstand this poor ground, but it's here. This is the vital bit. These wonderful blue flowers. Good colour for bees, isn't it? It's blues and purples and whites.
Yeah.
And just look at this one.
Oh, I know what that is. That's a clover, isn't it?
Yes, but it's a big clover.
It is.
It's Trifolium ochrolucum, and it'll make a great big bushy plant, absolutely smothered in these gorgeous blooms, right the way through June into July, on and on.
Brilliant.
And it's not just your honeybees that are going to love it. All bees will love it, as they will all these plants. Is there any chance of us having a look at them, Jane?
Yeah.
I can't stand on one foot.
See where you're going now?
They're very happy bees, aren't they?
They're quite calm, yeah.
Yeah, they
I'm
really are.
pleased. There's the queen.
Oh, look at her. What's that bright blue?
I've marked her.
You've marked her?
Yeah, So
you can tell us, she is quite a lot bigger,
she is
isn't
bigger, especially her abdomen where, you know, all the eggs are.
And she's the centre of the hive and the one who...
Without the queen, you know, your hive dies, basically, because you get no more babies.
So why do they need pollen and nectar?
Pollen's mainly used for growing. The nectar is the sort of carbohydrate, the energy food that they use to fly around and everything.
And isn't that why it's so important to have masses of plants that flower over a really long period of time?
So they can have a steady flow coming in, Carol, definitely, yeah.
You don't just have to keep bees to care about bees, do you?
No.
I mean, our gardens cover a greater area than all our nature reservations. So what we all put into our gardens is important.
And it's going to help.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, I potted up pelargoniums and lavender to make the most of this very warm, sunny wall and these steps. And they're growing fine. They're great. I also added in these citrus out. These are very trusty old plants. This one I've had for about 15 years and this one for over 25 now. They're not quite the right place for them. And actually, they're not looking that healthy, I have to confess. They need some TLC. So if I take this off to the potting shed, I'm going to give it a bit of attention. And now is the perfect time to do this job. Also the perfect weather to go indoors. Right, let's come in the dry. Gently lower this down so I don't break the pot. Even a citrus plant that's ailing a little bit is still a wonderful thing. I think that combination of the brilliant green leaves, the fruit, either bright orange or bright lemon, a terracotta pot and preferably a blue sky is as lovely as anything. Now, this has lived all winter indoors. It needs winter protection because it's not really frost hardy. But when you keep it indoors, it always tends to get a bit tired. And then when you put it outside in spring, the whole plant perks up. You get lovely new green growth, you get the flowers coming out that smell fantastic, the fruit forming, and you can have flowers and fruit at the same time. The whole thing is a joy. So to get a full measure of joy from this plant, I want to give it a boost. And about every 5 years, it's a good idea to repot them. And that's what I'm going to do now. Right. Gums. Now, I don't quite know what to expect because, well, it's not too bad. So if you look at that, the roots are growing around the edge of the pot. They've run out of space. Let's put that down for a minute, it's heavy. Best time of year to do this is early June. So your normal topping up and light pruning you want to do about March, April. But leave this until growth is really getting going. And just tease off the old compost without damaging the roots. Now, I've mixed up a compost mix for it. It's a combination of a proprietary organic peat-free potting compost, a good bucket of grit, and a generous bucket of sieved, well-made home garden compost. And that combination gives it the right amount of nutrients. They need sustenance, but they also need drainage. And that's what the grit's for. And they must have good, quite quick drainage. When you water them, you want to see the water coming out the bottom of the pot. Okay, let's put a layer underneath the plant. Right, there we go. Now, this is where I know whether I've got to trim the roots or not. Yeah, I think I am. Just going to trim those back. I don't want them touching the side of the pot, so all I'm going to do is just snip them off a little bit. I have not done this for 6 years, and that's probably enough. If you did this every year to your citrus, they would not be happy. So, if in doubt, don't prune the roots. And the main reason I'm pruning them is to fit them into this pot. Now, I must stress that root pruning is not something you do every year. Just do it about every 5 years, and then every year you just need to add a mulch of the compost and then pinch out the growing tip so you keep the shape. But this has lost its shape a bit. So I'm going to prune slightly more radically because I've taken roots off, and now I'm going to take a bit of the top off. That's a gonna. Here, there. That's looking much better. Next stage will be to give it a good soak, a bit of a feed, top up with mulch, and then find the right spot for it. That's reminded me, I've got in my pocket here a letter from June Lucas. So if you're watching June, it says, I have a couple of citrus trees which I think are grapefruit, which I grew from pips about 10 years ago, and they're very green and healthy. The trouble is they've never flowered, and I'm wondering why. That's an easy one. They're 10 years old. Grapefruit grown from seed don't flower for about 20 years. You're halfway there, June. Hang on. It's a good idea to give any citrus a feed of liquid seaweed once a week throughout the summer months. And here are a few other things to be getting on with. When June arrives, I know it's the best time to sow climbing beans. I put 2 seeds at the base of each support of their frame, and by the way, it is important to make sure that the support is good and strong. When they've germinated, I'll weed out the weaker of the 2. And now the nights are getting warmer, they should germinate and grow very fast indeed. One of my favourite flowers of all, the foxglove, is in full glory at the moment. You can buy these at garden centres, but they're quite pricey when bought as individual plants. A much better way of growing them is to sow seed. But like all biennials, you need to do this now for next year's display. Sow the seed in a seed tray and put them somewhere protected. It doesn't need to be in a greenhouse. When they're big enough to handle, put the seedlings either into a corner of the garden where they can grow on or into pots. And then they can be planted into their final growing position in early autumn. Although it's showery at the moment here at Long Meadow, for most of us it's been a really dry spring and our ground is parched and we need to water. Now the secret of effective watering in the garden is to give things a really good soak. Far better to water thoroughly once a week than lightly every day. Try and get the water to the roots of the plant, not just on the foliage. Water in the evening, and if you're going to use a sprinkler, leave it on for at least an hour. That's it for this week. Next week, I'm working in my herb garden, building up the range of delicious herbs for the kitchen. I'm also paying a visit to Claude Monet's garden at Giverny in France, which is looking staggering. I'm there to meet the new head gardener, the first one for 35 years, who is an Englishman. So, see you then. Bye-bye.